checking one guy that I know. There we go. Um, one guy I know, he was saying he was excited to play
Yeah.
and stuff, and somebody immediately pops on one of his buddies and stuff like this game, this lame ASS game, and
It is anything but lame so
So
far.
the guy asked, he's like, wait, he's like, well, why don't you like it? He's like asking like genuinely, like, why don't?
Yeah,
what
I haven't
was the
gotten a
point?
straight answer.
And as I was reading, I couldn't get one either. The guy he reiterated the exact same points I've been hearing from everybody else who has nothing good to say about it, other than like, oh, well, this fake woke stuff, blah blah blah.
Where?
SJW.
Other than it has slightly non-average characters as major characters.
That's what I'm saying. Cause like it's literally the exact same talking point of every single person who's either been like some just usual, just like I hate to say it, but misogynistic douche kind of guy who just wants to hate the game because
Political reasons.
Yeah.
Really, it's a video game.
and the other guy was just like, well, dude, he's like, he's like, you haven't given
It's a
me an
video
answer.
game.
Yeah, he's like, well, what? He's like, you're only giving me excuses. You're not giving me answers. He's like, well, no matter what you say, dude, I'm going to play the game and I'm going to enjoy it.
And everyone, and by the way, that's not a ton of people, but a friend of mine, he started it like earlier this week, and I'm catching up to him. He was like, oh, this is so good. And one of the guys that I listen to while I'm working, and he does naughty anime sketchy tutorials, are actually very well done. He was in the middle of it. He likes it. So everybody that I kind of either personally know, oh, what game? Last of Us 2. Yeah.
Hey, Corey, what's up?
Who do we have?
That's Corey.
Oh, hey, Corey. How's it going?
He's like,
Yeah.
yo, that Mr. Incredible.
I'm currently on staycation, which is why I'm in PJs, and I haven't shaved. I've showered.
Which is good.
I'm not completely giving up on life during staycation. Working on Possum Pearl. Sort of the Hickorbilly female equivalent of Bluto. Oh, what the...
And we're talking about Last of Us 2.
I don't even... I'm playing it. I just started it this morning, and by the way, if you have spoilers, don't. Because I'm really enjoying it, and right now, I'm going to be super honest. I don't have a freaking clue what everyone is mad at. I mean, maybe it's later on in the game or something, and they do something really outrageous or horrific. But I'm just kind of playing a game, and I'm going like, oh, okay, some of the characters are slightly atypical. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, okay, exactly right. That's what I was thinking. Was like, okay, I'm playing it, having a great time. By the way, super dark, super violent, uncomfortable at moments, flat out uncomfortable at moments. But so was the first game, and so far I can't figure out what people are talking about. I might go back into those videos on YouTube later and see what everyone's talking about. But it just seems like the fanboys are really angry because it's fashionable, is the closest thing I can come up with. And that's about the best I can do. Is it just they don't seem to... I don't get why everyone's really so excited about what's going on there.
Because people want to be mad.
Yeah, I think I saw those same trailers, and I just was like, oh, so the sequel. I'm like, right on. As I if you're not into Last of Us, don't get Last of Us 2. If you're into Last of Us, you might dig Last of Us 2. And yeah, some stuff goes down in the story, which I will not say what it is, but some stuff goes down that I could see might tick some people off, but it's part of the story. So, and at this moment, I've gotten, like I said, what, five hours or something in, and it's just been good. I've just enjoyed myself. Now, I will admit that I hit a few moments where I'm going like, jeez, the darkness. I mean, like,
Yeah, that
it'll
was-
it'll drag you down a little bit.
And that's the part I did say, where a lot of people were saying it was
It's
pretty
a kid.
violent.
That's a thing with the kids these days. Thank you. I love it. I love it that I can now say these kids these days. I'm now getting the gray, and I can now say the thing.
Well, Corey, he understands a lot of stuff because he's actually one of the professional fighting game tournament guys.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, so he goes to a lot of the competitions and stuff. And he's actually won a
Re-
few of them, so he knows about a lot of the crazy stuff when it comes to video games. And he gets the people that rage quit on him or get mad at him, and he's just, I'm just having fun playing the game.
Yeah, it's I am not going to sit there and be all like, dude, I know what that's like. I've played games most of my life. I enjoy doing it. I'm good. I'm sure you are amazing if you're in a tournament. I play to have fun. Let's enjoy Spider-Man.
Yeah, we have Spider-Man for the PS4. We just haven't cracked it open yet because I just haven't had the time and
Well,
just haven't been feeling like playing it for a bit.
I
Unfortunately.
can get addicted to a game extremely extreme. I had to give back my copy of Dead Island, Red Dead Redemption 2. I had to stop playing what is the one?
Which one?
The Living Dead one with the motorcycle guy. Days Gone.
Yeah, Days Gone.
All of which are amazing games. I didn't put them down because I hated them. I put them down because I couldn't stop. And so I was like, no, I want to at least spend part of my time doing the thing that I want to do, and I want to spend part of my time really enjoying video games. It means not just droning on, and so some games, period, I just had to stop playing. I hate doing that. That's actually why I like the Naughty Dog games. They have 20, 25 hours of gameplay and you're done, and you can have yourself like a journey. But there's games out there with like 60, 80 hours worth of gameplay, and I'm like...
And not including all the downloadable content.
Not including the other stuff. So it's like, I hate to pull that on people, but I kind of want to be like, dude, I got a life. I hate saying that, but I'm like, I got a wife. I got a life. I got a,
You also have, it's like you said, you know your limits because you get addicted to them. So it's like,
Yeah.
no, you have to stop, or you won't. So it's not like you're
Yeah.
just kind of like, well, I got a life, I'm better. It's like, no, it's like
No.
you know your habits and you know you
Yeah.
have to break them.
Yeah, it's not a matter of I think I'm better. It's a matter of I know what I'm capable of, and
You know
I
your
need to
brain.
I need to not do that,
Mhm.
like a lot. Not.
Mhm. You know your brain better than anybody else, well, except for me, of course.
Well, I'm actually thinking about getting like a timer on a container so I can keep my PlayStation 4 controller under lock until a certain time of day, where then I can just feel free to play with it.
And somebody replaying Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, yeah, the original had like, what was it, 60, 80 hours was the original game? It was mammoth. And I'm sitting there going like, semi-replaying. I can't even touch that. I'm like, I literally saw the trailer and went, dude, that's awesome. Don't bring that into my house.
I will never see daylight again.
Well, and I'm not even a huge Final the Final Fantasy I liked was 7. That was the one that I liked.
Yeah, and that's the one that they remade, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of the other ones, I'll be honest with you, I didn't quite get why everyone was so excited about them. I thought they had like neat designs or whatever, but 7 had like that. It was like a game changer at the time. I mean, there was no games like Final Fantasy 7.
Which is why they remade it and stuff.
Oh yeah, but then they remade it with like a Hollywood movie budget,
Yep.
and it's just like, I can't do
Do
this.
you guys want me to go outside again?
Exactly right, and it's like I've got cartooning I want to do, I've got writing I want to do, I've got stuff.
Yep. which is why he's not going to play it, Corey, because
Yeah.
it is right up his alley.
Well, I've got multiple alleys, and like the Japanese RPG, it's not one of the biggest ones, but when it's good, I really enjoy it. And 7 was really fun because it had all the silly, ridiculous, crazy. Plus, it had enough of the actual kind of tactical stuff going on that I enjoy it. So I saw the new version. I'm like, oh my god, it looks really good now. I can't bring that into my house. And it's like maybe 40 hours. Jesus. See, I'm doing the Last of Us 2, and I've heard that's about 20, 25 hours, which is a good solid weekend. You know, and that's for me, that's a lot of gaming. I don't normally play that much. But at the moment, staycation is raging, so that's what I'm going to do. Staycation is raging. Rage, staycation, rage. Staycation, fight! Yeah, I used to really like fighting games.
Staycation, fight! I took a nap!
Yeah, there's.
Yoga food!
Well, the funny thing, I just. At what point in time did becoming a total nerd about stuff, for most of us, it got old enough? At what point in time did we go, I really love this, but I can't be exactly this anymore? You know what I mean? I had that moment where I'm like, I love my cartoons, I love my video games, my anime, my cartoons. I love this stuff a lot. But I've seen what it does to some people, and I've seen how some people do nothing but their thing. Like the one dude that the super My Little Pony collector. Right on, dude. But I can't even fathom diving into anything like that, because this dude's house is My Little Pony. I don't even have a corner for stuff to really collect anything, because I'm like, I gotta do my art, I gotta do my stuff.
Oh, we got our bookshelves and stuff.
Yeah, but that's this dude was putting on an addition to his house, probably for a Twilight Sparkle wing, you know, and that's like hardcore to a degree that I'm like, I can't do that. Particularly for My Little Pony, but for just about anything. I find ways to manage it all. I hear you. I kind of make deals with myself. It's like losing. It doesn't look like I've lost weight, but I've lost a lot of weight in the last 10, 15 years. And part of that is I had to make deals with myself. For example, I get fried chicken once a year. That's at the beginning of vacation. And it is extra crispy with all the drippy chicken fat, the biscuits with the drippy butter, and the mac and cheese, and the pure boiling fatty sin. Oh, that is fried chicken. And I get it once a year, and I get it, and I don't and feel bad at all. And, you know, it's like when it comes to video games and stuff, I'm like, I put limits, and I have to stick to them, and I've been kind of bad lately.
We've also been stuck inside for a while.
That really contributes to it. We've been really stuck. I love our home, but we're stuck in it.
Honestly, I wouldn't say stuck. It's just that we just don't want to go out.
Well, I can see how some people might look at My Little Pony and be like, wow, but I end up looking at everybody exactly the same way. I really mean that. It's like the day that I understood, and I'm not a sports fan remotely, but the day that I understood that sports fans were literally sports nerds, I was like, oh, they suddenly made sense to me. It's just that they really enjoy, you know, balls being thrown around and guys in tight pants sweating.
Yeah,
That's their thing. You know, it's like...
Football is D&D for jocks. That's literally what it is.
Which is fine. It's like I don't have to understand professional sports at all. I have to understand that they love it. Yes. Just like, what did you say? I can't can't talk.
love
Transformers.
Transformers, yeah.
A friend of ours is a massive
I
Transformers
have
fan.
several friends who are huge Transformer people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's one of those ones that I'm like, cool, but I'm not a huge Transformers guy, but I can respect it because I get it. You know, it's I'll bring up stuff and people are like, why in the world would you watch Thunderbirds? I'm like, have you seen Thunderbirds in HD? Thunderbirds in HD is a hell of a thing. I don't care that you can see the strings. I'm like, I'm even more excited that you can see the strings. But I realize how silly that sounds to other people. They're like, Thunderbirds? Really? And I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, yours is My Little Pony or Transformers or the really weird one, professional sports. Notice how I didn't even say a specific one, just in general. To be no offense to it, just like,
That's their thing.
yeah. To me, people that are into professional sports are just as odd as bronies, which I don't really view as odd. They're just is what it is.
They're nerds.
They're nerds, exactly
They're
right.
they're just geeks for other things.
Yeah, they're just geeks for other things. It's like cooking show nerds. They uncork their bottle of wine and sip and think about foie gras all day and, blah. You're just a food nerd.
Yeah.
That's fine. There ain't nothing wrong with being a food nerd. But it's like, so I have to keep my loves under control or they will steadily consume me in a hardcore way.
It is your mistress.
Hmm?
Obey your mistress.
Yeah. Hey, that's a mistress I can have and not nor to really get in trouble with too much. If I just had another kind of mistress, I'd be in real trouble. I'd be really in trouble. I would wake up dead. You'd get me. You did what? Oh God.
No, you wouldn't wake up dead. You'd wake up just on the street, or you'd wake up and I wouldn't be there. Ta-da!
Oh, that's bad.
Hey, you brought it up, not me.
This is true.
Thank you, Walgreens.
Oh, Walgreens.
I appreciate the note. It's kind of creepy, but thank you very much. I'll keep that in mind. If you or someone someone you love, needs to be tested for COVID, we have testing at some of our locations. Well, that's good to know.
Well, thank you. And now that you've said that, very likely YouTube will now ban our video from ever playing on YouTube ever again.
Yeah.
Yes, because they are out of control.
So we can get banned for that, but they won't ban people for like straight up hate stuff. All right.
LOL, yeah, Thunderbirds, you had to be there. I've come to the opinion that every time period has a form of entertainment that I think is entirely legitimate. And a lot of people, and I get why, make fun of those old puppet shows. And some of them are tough to watch. I'm not even, but some of them were actually had really good stories and really funny characters. And yes, I loved it when they tried to make them run. I would just sit there. They would give off some line, and there would be a puppet in the background smoking, and then one of them would be like, "Run!" And like the legs would just completely lose control. And between the smoking puppet and the flailing other puppet, I just lose it. And I entirely see why Team America was made. You watch Team America and you go like, oh, I entirely understand why this happened. Chances being they actually thought these shows were pretty good themselves, but couldn't stop laughing at the puppets because I like the show and I laugh at the puppets. So.
Yes, I already answered you. Stop it.
It is Possum Pearl. Yes.
Hey, Joe. Is it like Sea Ray? Yes, exactly like Sea Ray. Yeah. Or was it Stingray? Stingray.
Stingray is good too.
Yeah.
I enjoy Stingray. I like Thunderbirds more than Stingray, but there's some shticks in Stingray that are so good and so ridiculous and so just so silly and so really 60s.
And when you were went on the binge one night watching it, and ever since then the song has just been stuck in my head, and it drives me crazy.
It's a great, stupid. It's not as good as the Thunderbirds theme song, but it's got sort of a ridiculousness that's wonderful.
I'm like, I'll just be minding my business doing something, and out of nowhere,
Stingray.
Stingray, Stingray. Bongos, like, dude.
Okay, the real innovation on Stingray, and it's a Jerry Anderson thing, and they've done it in multiples of their shows. You have to look for it in their intros. They immediately figure out a way of going and doing something like, dude, it's going to be awesome. And they figure out a way of doing that in every intro. And in Stingray, it was great. It was the alarm goes off, and the commander, which is yelling into a microphone, literally goes, anything can happen in the next half hour. And he's totally referring to like this emergency that's happening in the opening sequence. But he broke the fourth wall and just said, anything can happen in the next half hour. And so as a kid, you'd be like, oh, well, shoot, there's flying like robot fish and submarines and explosions, and anything can happen in the next half hour. And they did similar with Thunderbirds and blah blah blah. And there's just some cool shticks there. I get why people wouldn't like it. I get it. But I also go like, oh, there's some lessons to be learned there. There's some neat kind of stuff happening. And some of it is a little dated and doesn't work probably quite as well as it once did. But what are you going to do?
But yeah, Joe, he is doing Possum Pearl this round. And actually, from what you said last week, he thought it'd be a fun character to do. So
yeah.
Here we go.
Well, besides, who else do you put opposite of Bluto? I had a couple other ideas, but I was like, you know what? That is actually a really good choice. And besides, there's something about going in and just making characters a little bit more unstable looking than they normally did. And that is so much fun for me. And right now, Possum Pearl is an unstable cauldron of unstableness. Yes. Yes, I'm settling on that. I'm sticking to that.
At least Thunderbirds had a futuristic animated sequel. I think you watched that, right? The CG one that came out?
I saw the new one, and there were good episodes, and there were really bad episodes to that. The really good ones, but the thing is the models and all the background work was really good. I mean, like, I was literally drooling, and then I was like, and this is going to sound totally ridiculous, but the 60s version, which was typically 1-hour shows, and not to say that they were the greatest ever, but some of them had really good stories, and the ones that didn't had okay stories. They didn't go below a certain level, and the new show, they dumbed it down a lot for little kids, and that irks me when they do that. I'm like, no, don't treat children like they're stupid, because that's how you get stupid children. And I kind of felt like that new version, which, by the way, I was really impressed with, I just kind of stopped watching because they weren't taking the characters this sounds ridiculous coming out of my mouth, but they weren't taking the characters very seriously. They weren't taking the action as seriously as the original show did. Again, as ridiculous as that sounds, right? Where you go like Thunderbirds, I'm like, no, watch it. They really put a lot of thought into it. I still have to beat Cuphead. I've seen footage of that. I hear it's absolutely brutal playing it.
I've watched a few playthroughs, and I was getting frustrated watching the playthroughs because there was stuff on there where I know I would probably just walk away angry.
Well, that was the kind of game I used to play when I was a kid, and I had techniques so you could watch everything on the screen, which was usually not watching the main character, but just sort of, this is going to sound funny, glazing over and unfocusing your eyes so you could just see the whole screen moving. So you could just go like, okay, this area is dangerous, and then you try to get out of the danger zone. I was watching Cuphead, and there was so much stuff going on that I tried doing that with the playthrough footage, and I was like, I couldn't track. There was so much. Then I tried concentrating. It was like, that game looks brutal. It's so beautiful, but it just gameplay wise, I'm like, it looks horrific.
Unfortunately, it's probably going to be a while before we even get to it because it was just Xbox only from what I remember. So.
Well, it was beautiful though. That was the thing that I really
of
gave
course,
them.
I loved it. They're actually the animated series is going to be coming to Netflix, so they're actually doing an animated series about it. And then there's an art book that's out that I had on my wish list for on Amazon, and I was like, okay, it was pre-sale. I was like, all right, I'm gonna wait for it. I'm gonna pick it up when it comes on pre-sale. Forgot about it. Popped on to see where it is, and now it's like twice as much as what it was. Like, oh come on. So I'll have to see if I can catch it again at another, or just wait for it to come back down to regular price again. Because I've been wanting to just check out the artwork. Cause it's like I said, it's a beautiful game, and when they
Well, it's like a period piece. They didn't sort of make it look like cartoons from that time period. They made it look exactly like cartoons from that time period.
yeah.
On an artistic level and historic level alone, that game was brilliant. Because there's people out there they'll figure out a way of nickeling and diming something down to make it simpler, easier to produce. What they came up with must have been so hard to do. Good for them.
Yeah, unfortunately, that team also apparently one of the team members also is one of those groups that's really, really not good to their people, and
that's a shame. That's one of those things where you just end up going like, well, it's like Naughty Dog. Everything that I'm hearing is they treat their people like total trash, which is heartbreaking because the work they do is amazing. I hate to make the equivalence between them going like, treat your people like crap, get great games. I hope that is not the math, that moves forward. Because how much money does that game make?
Yeah.
And how many more employees would have been required to make it so the ones that were there didn't have to like suffer work. I heard things like 60, 70 hour work weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, that is brutal.
So that's first I would look at the first set of Soul Calibur. Yeah, that's far behind NES. I'm looking forward to the sequels. Yeah.
Oh, the Uncharted games are so good.
Yeah, we've gone through all of them, and they are amazing.
They are. Well, and the thing is, and I mean this. This is I'm entirely kind of torn. Naughty Dog has put me into sort of a position. I adore their freaking games. I love everything about their games. I'm a production artist in a corporation. They treat their production artists like garbage. If from my understanding, I'm hoping that I am mishearing and that the stuff that I'm reading about is incorrect. But I've heard they just treat their people, like disposable. Which is to me is like, oh, if you're working at that level, I'm kind of wanting like, remember when Disney used to be like a company where everyone was like, yeah, Disney, and now that we kind of learn how they treat their people, you're like, oh, Disney. Okay, well, some of their stuff is still good, but they're just another kind of corporation treating their people like garbage.
Yeah, see how the sausage is made.
Yeah. And then I go like, oh, geez, Naughty Dog, come on. And then there's like controversy around Last of Us 2. And I'm like, so far the only controversy that should be there is that they treat their people like garbage, not that they have a handful of characters in it that don't fit the norm, Yeah, story and storytelling and character. The Last of Us, wow. The last game of Uncharted, not where number 4. There were moments in that, and I swear, as a guy approaching my mid-40s now, I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there, I literally looked at the character, seeing a little bit of gray getting in there, and I went, dude, how much longer can you go and do this? When are you going to blow your knees out? 2 minutes later, the character jumped and landed and did not get back up. He was in the landing position and he grunted, got up real slow, adjusted his knees and went, I'm getting too old for this. And I went, oh my God, thank you. Thank you. They didn't keep him like a 23-year-old action stud forever. They totally took him and they aged him, and the final game was about him starting to get too old to do it. And that's why it was so good, because exactly what you said, dude. Story and storytelling. Oh, you have not played Uncharted 4. I will not say anything else. Freaking play Uncharted 4. And then once you're done with Uncharted 4, make sure that if that gets you geeked, do the little mini game. It's only 10 or 12 hours of gameplay.
Lost Legacy, right?
Lost Legacy, which follows it. So good, too. I was sitting there and having the... as a matter of fact, a good thing you had mentioned that. I was about to give more examples from number 4. Number 4 is freaking amazing. But then I have to sit there and go like, what did you do to your people? Because I've been on the receiving end of that.
Yeah.
And I'm certain that they've had it worse than I've ever had. So I just go like, oh, that can be brutal. So I feel conflicted. And one of the reasons I'm like, well, then don't buy the games. I'm like, a lot of those workers don't get their bonuses unless their sales are above a certain level. So those people that suffered, I'm also kind of going like, if I'm understanding this correctly, they don't get their full pay unless they get good sales. So I go like, gotta catch 22. Like, I want these people that suffered to get their money, but on the same note, I kind of want the company to be treating their people better. And I want Naughty Dog to, be Awesome Dog. I want them, I want them to be awesome to their people. Not so Naughty Dog. I want them to be awesome to their people. I've heard after this last game that they released here, this was one of the breaking points. They apparently had some problems after Uncharted 4. From rumors, I'm not an expert on this. I just did a little bit of looking into it. They had some brain drain and some real problems. And then Last of Us Part 2, they had a real problem. Apparently they've lost like a notable percentage of the staff. Just got when their contract was done, they were like, forget this.
And it was one of the reasons why it was pushed
That's
back so
bad
much.
news.
It was actually supposed to come out earlier this year, from what I remember, and they pushed it back up until the summertime. So.
Well, that could be any number of things, but yeah, that could also be it. It's I don't have a ton of facts. I have a bunch of little micro sources that kind of are collectively roughly saying the same thing. And I looked into some of because I looked into working there, and I went and I was reading reviews from some of the ex-employees. I was going like, oh, this is corresponding with some of the rumors I'm hearing. I'm like, oh, this isn't awesome. But on the same note, I want those people to get their money. / their games are amazing. So what do you do? Well, you don't buy their games. I'm like, true. Actually, from my understanding, a couple of the major people from Naughty Dog left and are starting their own thing. So we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah. It was good.
Oh, the Uncharted games are so much fun. Well, I think one of the reasons why is I love Indiana Jones movies, clearly.
Right.
And so they're just modern Indiana Jones movies, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you look at, like, no offense to anybody who liked the last Indiana Jones movie. There were moments that I enjoyed. I had a hard time with it. I just, I thought Temple of Doom was a better movie, and that was the weakest of the original 3. I thought Crystal Skull was super weak. And then I played the Uncharted games. I'm like, oh, well, geez, this is what I was wanting. This is an action movie with crazy archaeology and weird, messed up ancient stuff happening, and sort of a everyday hero, which Indiana Jones is an everyday hero. Nathan Drake is an everyday hero. I mean, they both admittedly have their interesting skill sets, but they're not like Superman. They're sort of just normal dudes, comparatively speaking. hand working. There we go. Oh, but yeah. Yeah, it's Last Crusade is actually one of my favorites, but it's also the one that has some of the biggest glaring story holes. When I was a kid, I didn't notice them, but when I went back and rewatched it, I literally went, "Whoa, wait a minute. What the heck is with this?" Like, it's got some big obvious holes in it, but it's so much fun. Like if they had just fixed those couple little holes, we would be great. Yeah, there were spots in Crystal Skull that I liked, and I'm not going to remotely judge you for enjoying it. I've got all sorts of people that I know that loved it, and there were bits that I thought they did really well on. And there's just other stuff where I didn't. It's like I wanted the whole thing to work well as those moments. Like I liked the fact that he had a greaser son, and they brought back his original love interest and blah blah blah, and there was just good fun stuff in it. But then, what was her name? Marion. His love interest. I'm blanking on exact. I think it was Marion. But she really didn't have anything to do in the story. She basically was there to say a couple lines here and there and to grab the steering wheel, like when Indy had to punch somebody. Whereas compared to Raiders of the Lost Ark, she was all over the freaking story. She wasn't like 50-50 with Indiana Jones, but she took up screen time. She did plot stuff. There was character moments. She was really fun. In Crystal Skull, I'm not sure why she was there. I mean, she didn't actually do a whole lot. And then they would have moments where I would be confused, like, how do you get thrown out of an armored vehicle into a jungle? Those armored vehicles go flying down a jungle road straight away from you at 60 miles an hour, and then you catch up to them by swinging after them on vines. Admittedly, Monkey is helping you, but how does that make you go faster than 60 miles? And I just was sitting there in the theater going like, "You're forcing me to do math! You're forcing me to do math! This doesn't work!" And I just had these weird moments where I went, "Okay, look, in theory, I understand what you're doing here. This is a fun idea, but you actually, the weird moments in Crystal Skull literally threw me out of the movie. And I should never be thrown out of a movie. I should literally be so stuck in a movie, even if you do something wrong, you should be able to hide it where I don't notice it." And like, Raiders of the Lost Ark, that's not the right one. Last Crusade, its glaring problems, the first couple times I watched it, I never noticed until somebody went, "What about blank?" And then I rewatch it and went, "Oh my God, they're right." So at least they hit it. But Crystal Skull, they kind of threw it right out there. Haven't seen it in years. I have never seen the Fast and Furious movies. I'm not a huge car guy. Nor am I a race guy. Or an extreme muscle tattoo guy. I've heard they're really fun, though, but I've just never seen them. Some people I know have just, they're like, "Oh, no, they're actually really fun." I'm like, "Oh, well, maybe I'll get around to them." But I mean, my favorite Vin Diesel anything is Iron Giant. And Groot. A lot of his live action stuff, I know a lot of fans get into it. His live action stuff, I guess, just never did it for me. Like, I never quite got Riddick. And I like cheap, goofy sci-fi movies, but for whatever reason, I just never got into those. I can't figure out what it was. And nothing against anybody who likes it, I just never got into them.
Well, like if you've never read the books, it's probably one of those.
There's books?
Yeah, that's what the Chronicles of
Are
Riddick.
they really?
That's what it's based off of.
Well, that might be part of the equation. I'm like, oh, that might be why people are really into this. Okay,
Yeah.
that explains some stuff.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford to be fun. That was actually one of my biggest gripes of Crystal Skull is, firstly, he didn't act like Indiana Jones. He didn't act like an old Indiana Jones. It's not that it wasn't that he didn't act like an old, there we go. He didn't act like an old Indiana Jones, he didn't act like Indiana Jones at all. He just played his grumpy, standard, old, angry guy in a movie. And I'm like, That's not Indiana Jones. You can make him a little more grim or whatever as he gets older, but he still has to be Indiana Jones. And I think you're right. He just, man, he phoned that in. The later movie is practically set anymore. It's pretty, yeah. Yeah, it has a lot of those. And the thing is some of it actually I thought worked. A lot of it I had a hard time with, but one of the moments that I really liked was the dude getting drug under by, like, the jungle ants. I was like, call it "Dude Gets Drug Under by Jungle Ants" the movie. I would have been happier with it. I'm serious. I really hit that moment. I'm like, oh, that's fun. Finally, somebody died. Seriously, watch Crystal Skull. Do a kill count. Like the first movie, like 40 people die. The second movie, like 30 people die. The movie after that, like 45 people die. This one, it's like 2. And one of which was killed by ants. So I give you a lot of credit and points for killing someone with ants. And not that you have to have a murder fest, but it is Indiana Jones, and he kills a lot of people. He does it with guns. He'll punch the crap out of people until they fall off a cliff. He will kill some dudes. That's what he does. He's like the archaeological version of James Bond. He will wipe the enemy numbers out. And in Crystal Skull, like 2 people died in the whole movie by his hands. Maybe some of the bad guys got some people, but and not to say that people have to die, but imagine a James Bond movie where he doesn't get laid. Doesn't have to be there, but that's kind of the shtick. Indiana Jones kills the crap out of people. He does. That's how he makes his money. He steals archaeological artifacts to sell them to museums, and he kills a bunch of dudes. He's kind of awesome. As awful as that sounds, don't mess with the shtick.
Yeah, my thing is it's like what we've talked about before many times. Like what I wanted to see for Crystal Skull is I wanted to see in the beginning. I wanted to see like the one setup that we always talk about. Like there's Indy and he's all old and stuff, and he's going through one of the caves, and he. Oh,
that was a great idea. I would have loved that movie. Keep going.
He sees the treasure that he needs to get and all, and he's just like, all right, and he goes to grab it, and at the same time another hand grabs it.
Yeah.
And so it's like for like a good 10 seconds, it's the comedic going back and forth with the hand grab, pull, grab, pull.
I actually like this idea.
And he's like, what the heck? And so finally, he pulls up, and he stares at the other person who had grabbed the treasure at the exact same time, and the other person just goes, Dr. Jones?
Dr. Jones?
And the other guy goes, and Indy goes, short round? And it's an adult short round.
Okay.
That right there would have been my movie.
Now, not only would I have liked that, I'll be super honest with you. The idea of the greaser son, not a terrible idea. I liked that. I actually would have preferred that they could have continued on a Cold War era continuation of the Indiana Jones movies with Short Round. Are you kidding me? I would adore like a little snarky Chinese archaeological action dude, and you can have him even call up and you can have him talking to the old Indiana Jones over the phone because now his back is too bad for swinging over like Aztec death pits. So now the Short Round action is it'd be great, but instead they decided to make it about interdimensional creatures that aren't aliens in flying saucers, but they are interdimensional beings in flying saucers that look like aliens. And you're going like, guys, you're making this so convoluted and screwed up, and I had a hard time with it. I really did.
They're asking too much. Fans will whine. Fans always whine.
yeah, and I'm trying not to whine here. It's just it had such promise to restart the whole series, and I think it kind of doomed it because I don't think I've heard anything being talked about another Indiana Jones anything. Which is why I'm like, dude, yeah, do another character. That's great. Do another character. An older Short Round? Dr. Jones? Are you kidding me? I loved that character as a kid. I rewatched it again. I still kind of like Short Round, and I get it. He was there for the kids to make them laugh. But of that genre of characters that are there to make kids laugh in the theater, I think he was probably my favorite. And plus you have like this stout little skinny guy with the hat, and I'm not even saying get exactly the same actor again, because who knows what he's doing anymore. But you could easily kind of create a whole really cool new Indiana Jones stuff off this character, and instead they did what they did, which was partially successful, but man, how did we get from The Last of Us Part 2 to this?
I'm talking about Uncharted, and it's like Indiana Jones.
Oh, new Indy is in development.
That could have been good too.
That could have been good. That's both his son and Short Round actually creating kind of a dynamic archaeological duo. That's not bad. That's actually a pretty good idea. The thing is I think that they need to detach it from Harrison Ford, because he's getting old at this point. Love the guy, but he's getting old. There's nothing else I can say about that. And I hate to say it, Indiana Jones is it's like a power fantasy for people. They want to get the chick, they want to blow up the stuff, they want to go and do the Aztec Doom Temple, which is why Nathan Drake in Uncharted works so well. He often gets the chick, he kills a lot of people, does the fill-in-the-blank Death Temple, Though that... No, I won't say anything. You haven't seen the fourth one yet. The fourth one is amazing. It is slightly different, but it is so good. And I tell you what, I don't think I will ever stop loving ancient death temples of various cultures. I don't care that doesn't make any sense, that they never existed. I don't care. It is such a wonderful trope. So much fun. I've come to a horrible conclusion about fans. And I think fans are going to hate me for saying this. You can't take them into the calculation. You just can't. Dragon Ball Z fans have been asking for new Dragon Ball Z for decades. They get new Dragon Ball Z after new Dragon Ball Z, and it's never good enough. Yet they want new Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, well, from what I hear, a lot of them like it.
No, but what I typically hear is oh, they should have done this. They should have done that. This isn't... I go like, new Bugs Bunny. It should have been like this. It should have been like, voice actor wasn't right. This and that. And I'm like, you're never going to please the fans, because the fans love it too much. I know that sounds horrible, right? The new Voltron that they did on Netflix was entirely different than any form of Voltron before it, but I got to admit, it's a whole lot more interesting than any other version of Voltron. She-Ra, the new one, totally different than the original She-Ra. And in many ways is much more interesting. Even though I love the original She-Ra, it was never as interesting as the new She-Ra. They never took any risks in the old She-Ra. They took a lot of risks in the new one. It is. The new Voltron was really good. And
I love the new Voltron. I love the new Voltron.
Yeah. All right. I hate to say this, but I feel my anxiety starting to kick in. No offense to anyone out there. That's just me. It happens. And my sketch is done. So everyone that joined me today, thank you very much. And I actually really mean that. It's nice to have people coming along on my magical sketch journey. That would be Corey and Joe.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. And we will be back next week. I'm not sure who I'm going to do next week, but we'll get it figured out. In the meantime, you guys... I almost missed it. I almost skipped over it. As is tradition, at the end of every episode where I have two characters facing each other that shall forever be sealed together in potentially one of the ugliest kisses ever. Bluto, meet Possum Pearl, forever lip locked. Oh, yes, nasty. In my sketchbook. Nasty. Nasty. That is an ugly, ugly form of love, but we can't judge because
It's love.
it's love.
Don't hate on love, man.
But I definitely got to admit, I don't want to rewatch that.
I do.
Watch that nasty again. Let's see if I can get this right. I'm probably going to screw this up. Get in there. Oh no. Erner. Oh, forget it. Eric wins! Oh, man. You're welcome. I needed that myself. Okay. Everyone have yourself a good week. We will catch you guys later. Have yourself a good one.
See ya.